Hello, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Kayla Lovelace Huddleston. Here I have with me my lovely husband, Cedric Lovelace Huddleston, and also our little baby girl, Charlotte Elise Lovelace Huddleston, and we are the Lovelace Huddlestons. Today we are going to be telling you guys our birth story, which is so amazing in all of its ups and downs, literally. So I'm super excited to tell you guys about it. So let's get to it.
Super excited.
Okay, so let's just get right into it.
All right. So if we're jumping right into it, it really started with our regular 39-week checkup at the doctor's office. Like, it wasn't even about the hospital at that point. You know, in the third trimester, once you get to a certain point, your doctor's visits become more regular. We were going once a month, and then it was every 2 weeks, and then it was every week. So we was just going in like, we in the home stretch.
We were 39 weeks pregnant.
She was ready to be extradited and released, even though she wasn't all the way due yet. She was ready.
Yeah. Well, I was 39 weeks
and
when we went. Yeah. Well, we went 39 weeks and 3 days for our appointment, which was Friday the 25th. And I was due August 30th, so the following Wednesday. So we were not due, but I was due. And I was ready. Yeah,
we weren't due, but she was turned.
In my spirit,
she was turned.
And we were turned.
Like,
we were ready.
Like there was nothing else to bake.
Term,
There was nothing else to develop. So if she had came at that point, it had been fine.
Right.
Nonetheless, we go to the doctors. We do our regular rigmarole. They go and check the vitals, and I'm out in the waiting room like normal, and they call us back. They put me in the room. I'm sitting there waiting, and
because I have to go pee.
Yeah, it's a whole spiel. They check the vitals. They do the urinalysis, and then they come and they check the measurements to make sure everything's cool, and then we go home.
So
not that time.
Yeah. So when I went back to do the vitals thing, they take your blood pressure, they take your weight and all of that. So when they took my blood pressure, it was pretty elevated. Now, throughout my pregnancy, I hadn't had elevated numbers, but I was doing the baby aspirin just because, you know, they're like African American women tend to experience preeclampsia during their pregnancy, so it was as a precaution. And I did have a few elevated numbers in the beginning of my pregnancy, so that was why they put me on it. But like I said, when we came in, and the first time I took my blood pressure at that doctor's appointment, it was elevated. And so they explained that they would take it again at the end of the appointment, just, you know, to look back at it to make sure everything was Gucci. So we took it, a little elevated, and then we went on with the rest of our appointment, which was pretty streamlined, normal, regular. It took, you know, they look for protein in your pee and all of that, and everything was Gucci. Everything was fine. No fluids leaking, no nothing. Right. They checked my cervix.
No,
yes, they did.
They went all the way up in the
but they did it with the thing. You remember? Because she was like, yep, your cervix is still, you know, it's still closed. Right.
And that's right. Because, okay.
They asked me if I wanted to check.
Now, the reason why I'm doing that is because we had actually went in having seen some fluid.
What I thought was fluid, but it was really just...
And so they did the pH test with the strip to make sure it wasn't amniotic fluid, and it wasn't. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm sorry. Yeah. But so that was that, and then...
She also checked my cervix. Right. And she told us that it was still high.
And tight.
And it was not.
Right. So
I was about to give birth.
Right. We were nowhere in active labor. So then we're getting ready to leave. They do the second blood pressure test. and the blood pressure is even
It's
higher.
higher.
So
yeah.
then she came back with this look on her face like, And so I'm looking like, what is the deal? And so she's like, we're going to go ahead and send you to the hospital.
Yeah.
And nothing's crazy, but we just don't like these blood pressure readings. So we were like, all right, cool.
Yeah. I was like, we're probably going to get sent home. I'm thinking like, we're not about to have this baby today. But we were like, let's just go ahead and go home and grab our bags on the way to the hospital.
The bags were packed anyway.
Yeah, bags were packed.
Because we were already at the point of any day now. So we just went ahead. The house was on the way to the hospital. So we went and got all our stuff. Got to the hospital. Got to triage. Get checked in. They string her up so they can monitor her blood pressure like continually.
Yeah, they were taking my blood pressure like every 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We were just chilling in triage.
We were just chilling. So after maybe about 2 hours of sitting, the midwife comes in and is like, yeah, well, your blood pressure looks cool because everything is essentially like stabilized or whatever. And she was like,
once.
yeah, it spiked one time, that's true. Yeah. But the midwife was like, since your term and we're here,
and the blood pressures are like
a thing,
inconsistent.
She's like, we're just gonna go ahead and induce you now.
So after, deciding that we were gonna go ahead and move forward with is it induction or induction. We signed papers. I got another cervix check. They're not fun. They're like shoving their fist up your vagina, literally. So it was.
Now let's pass the vagina because it's the cervix.
Yeah, like all the way up there, and they're like, huh? Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So yeah, we did that. Still, high, closed up, tight, all that stuff. So we waited in triage before we got moved for about 3 or 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get moved till like
7, 8 o'clock that night.
Yeah. So during this time, in this period, my parents come and join us.
They brought Chick-fil-A.
My mom is Charlotte's Mimi, and my dad is her Poppy.
Shout out to PJ and T Millie.
Okay.
Listen, don't judge my yard.
No, this is newborn life.
Sleep deprivation is real. Okay, so while she's snug as a bug in the rug in the wrap, meanwhile, every 3 hours.
But she had a really good night last night.
Oh, she run a nice streak.
So we get moved. We got moved to labor and delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Cool digs. Like it was. This is my first baby, so we've never experienced anything like this. Last time I was in a hospital was when I got in a car accident, which was a couple years ago.
She was in the ER. The ER is not the same.
Yeah, not the same. So that's what I'm saying. Like I've never experienced anything like that. So to see the labor and delivery suite was pretty cool. It's got the bathroom with the shower. It's got the little makeshift bench bed.
It's a suite
for your partner. Yeah, we get there around, I think it was like 8:30ish. And like we came up with my parents, and we had already eaten for the night. We had Chick-fil-A, so it was pretty much just shutting it down for the night.
Because all our stuff was already here in the car because we packed everything.
Yes. Yeah. So, and then I think you also went to go get the bags once we finally got moved to labor and delivery. So then at that point, shortly after we met our first nurse, we went through lots of nurses. So we met our first nurse who was awesome. Her name was Jamila. I remember her name because she was super, super dope. She explained to us, all of the medications and different steps that we were going to be going through. Even though we had already talked about that in triage, we're going to have to do a yawn count. Because you yawned twice now. We'll see how many times we yawn by the end of the video. So we start with step 1 of the induction, which was Cervidil, which is like this little like U-shaped piece that they put in, which basically just tries to start getting the cervix to, what's the word, like soften up, soften up a little bit. And they explained that piece or that step of the induction was going to take 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And they also explained that most of the time it doesn't really do a whole lot as far as dilation. It just softens everything up. They explained that it was going to take 12 hours, and that it also probably wasn't going to like get me dilated at all. It was just going to start the process of softening up the cervix. So they put it in, which is another insertion into you. So it was just not fun. After having done the cervix checks like a couple times, I cried after because they just were so uncomfortable. And it was overwhelming to think like, okay, here we go. Like we're about to start this process of being poked and prodded. And I was overwhelmed, but you know, you do what you gotta do. So.
She was a G through the whole process, like straight up. I mean, we're gonna get into the rest of the story, but talking about proud.
It was really, like you said, we're gonna get into it. But
so that was the night because it was about 9 o'clock when she started the cervical.
Yeah.
12 hours, right? So they're like, we'll see you in the morning.
Yeah.
So we shut it down, go to sleep. Fast forward to 9 a.m. Saturday.
Yep.
And you had actually dilated.
I had dilated 2 centimeters.
Right. So that was like, oh, we're kind of ahead of the game. Let's go to round 2. The nurses change shifts at 7 o'clock in the morning and in the evening. So 7 a.m., 7 p.m., a whole new staff comes in and like introduces themselves and assesses like what happened and what they're essentially like working to do for the next 12-hour shift. Right. So given that we took the Cervidil at 9 p.m., there was a shift change before they came and checked her at 9 a.m. We have a new nurse now introducing round 2 of the induction.
Right, which was the Cytotec.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't get the Cytotec until later in the afternoon because it needed to be 12 hours. So they came in and took it out at 11:45-ish. And at that point, we had a different nurse, and it was a different MD, a different midwife. It was all new staff. Luckily, we were blessed with great staff throughout our entire process in labor and delivery.
Yep.
Everyone was great. So
Kaiser and Emory, like everybody's folks was cool.
Great, yes. So, like we said, they came and took out the Cervidil, and they explained to us that they would be coming back in with the next step, which was the Cytotec. If you don't know what Cytotec is, what?
I'm trying to hide my yawn.
So after they take it out, they explain that they're going to be coming back in with the Cytotec shortly after, which if you don't know, it is like a little tiny pill that you actually don't swallow. They just put in the side of your mouth and you wait for it to dissolve. And that is supposed to kind of start some light contractions. So that's what we did shortly after they came in and took out the Cytotec, the Cervidil. So they say that takes they say it was like 4 hours that the Cytotec was going to take.
Yes.
It was like 4 hours.
Yes. Because we can still eat. So meanwhile, they're bringing in food. Emory Decatur Hospital food is scale of 1 to 10.
I would give it like a 5, which is pretty good for hospital.
I was gonna say 7, then I ate everything she ate. She's more picky than me, but
it doesn't take much for him. I give it a 5, but
so the Cytotec.
Yes.
Dissolved in the mouth, 4 hours go by. And
I had started having some mild contractions with the Cytotec. And they were bearable. So at this point, I think I had taken a nap after we got the Cytotec. We wake up and we're vibing. Like, we're just having a good time. We're chilling. We broke out Uno. My mom was reading books. We were just having a good time. We were listening to music, listening to some worship music. Like I said, we played Uno a bunch. And I won. Well, no, you beat me the first time.
No, you won. You was on the hot streak.
No, you beat me the first time.
The first time, but then she won.
Because we played 2 out of 3.
We won, yeah.
We played 2 games out of 3. Whoever wins 2 wins.
But then she won like 5 times in a row. And it was like, okay, well, labor's luck.
Yes.
Whatever.
So, not labor's luck. So after, you know, playing Uno and just having a good little time, Saturday morning, afternoon, we ate. My mom came back with food. She had Chipotle, Cedric had pizza and salad. I had Chick-fil-A again. It was a whole like spread.
I also had Skittles.
Yeah, my mom bought him Skittles. It was a whole spread of food, and that was around, I think it was
5.
like 4:35. Yeah, that we ate.
Because they were like, after we do round 3, once Pitocin starts, you can't eat no more.
Yeah.
So it was like, go ahead and get this in, enjoy yourself, because once this starts,
it was like the Last Supper.
It's going down. Right.
So we eat. Shortly after that, they come in and start the Pitocin. And if you've ever been put on Pitocin before, they do it in levels. So I think they started us at, did they start us at 1? Yeah. So
we started at 1, and they increased each like level in the IV every hour. So we had gotten up to like 4.
We gotten up to 4, and
then it was
I started. Well, as we gradually got to 4, I started experiencing more like moderate contractions. I was still able to like get up and laugh and talk and everything. But at a certain point, I think it was like maybe going on 7 o'clock, I got back in the bed and I was like, I was starting to really experience the contractions. Yeah. It was getting bad. And shortly after that, my water broke. Around, like you said you think it was like 7?
It was 7:30ish. It was like 7:30. Water broke, and then we was on the clock because they say it's an infection risk if you let things go on too long. So you're 24 hours from the time that the water broke. But because the water broke on its own, they were like, "This is a good sign. Yeah. We're in active labor. We're good to go. We're keeping it moving."
Doing it.
Fast forward to, like I said, about 9:30.
Yeah, the contractions were bad. They were bad. And let me just tell you, like, I do have a high pain tolerance.
She does.
So
she does.
I was doing well for a couple hours. Like, the Pitocin contractions are different than like regular contractions. Those Pitocin contractions are contractions on crack. Like, it was crazy.
They say if you know, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, man. It was.
I just saw the monitor, and that joke was like.
Yeah. I just was so glad that he wasn't like, "Here comes a contraction," because I would have been like. So the contractions the best way I can explain it is, people say cramps or like on steroids, but I don't know. It was more so like piercing, like squeezing pain, that kind of is like going across your pelvic area. But then there were ones that like wrapped around you, like they were in the front and in the back, and all I could do was just like groan and call on Jesus. That was it. And then at a certain point, they were so bad that like I was in so much pain, I was crying and everything. And so at this point, we're starting to talk epidural. And I was like, let's, like, come on.
Yeah,
bring the dude in here.
This is where
it gets. We'll say hairy. We use the word hairy.
Yeah,
because this is a Christian YouTube channel.
Man, it was hairy. It was hairy. Like,
I was in a lot of pain, and we called the nurse in, to start trying to talk about making moves to get the epidural.
But then she was like, when's the last time you ate? Yeah. And that's where it gets hairy because we get 8. Now, the midwife that came in before, because remember, it's after 9 o'clock, so it's a new nurse now because we ate at 5. Nurses changed at 7. This new nurse, she was cool. But she was like, when's the last time you ate? We ate at 5. Oh, well, you can't do an epidural within 6 hours of eating. Wait, what? Since when?
No one told us this.
No one told us this. So then the Kaiser midwife comes in and she's like, when did y'all change that policy? And now the Kaiser midwife and the Emory nurse are kind of having this exchange of like, had I known that, I wouldn't have let her eat.
Yeah. Because she was all, remember, she was all like, Last Supper, get it in, enjoy your food, because it's about to start dispitosin.
Right. So now 5 plus 6 is 11. It's only 9:30. So she's got to thug it out for an hour and a half more.
And y'all, the contractions were bad. Like, they were, and y'all know, like, they were bad. And so at that point, it was like, okay, well, I need something. So we go ahead and move forward with it's like a
ibuprofen drip.
Yeah. And they put in your IV, which I didn't want to get. But I had to do something. Like, the pain I was not going to be able to bear it for another hour and a half.
Would you say it helped?
It helped. But I could still feel the contractions. It was not like when you get the epidural, when you're looking at the monitor and you're seeing them go by, and you're just like, I don't feel a thing. Like, it was not like that. The drip, you could definitely still feel the contractions coming. They were just, I would say, like, if the contractions before I got the drip were at a 10, which they were, the drip made them like a 7. So I was still in pain.
Hey, 7 is not 10 though.
By the time they brought that in and I had been on it for a little while, it was time for them to start bringing in the anesthesia guy.
Now let's talk about that. First of all, really quick, I'm sorry, I'm winning the yawn count by like leaps and bounds.
Wait, okay, so are we saying whoever has the least amount of yawns? That's how it should be.
Oh, least yawns.
I'm losing. So it's like 11. Mind you, it takes about 20 to 30 minutes just to get the whole epidural process going, because they got to call the anesthesiologist. You don't know if they're coming immediately when they call, because they have other pregnant women, they have other people that are having surgeries in the hospital that need anesthesia. So luckily I was able to get the drip, which kind of held me over and lessened the pain at least a little bit while we waited for him to come in. When he comes in, I'm still in pain. Like I said, there's 7. I'm still having contractions.
So the man, listen, it's no shade to the man.
They have to explain it to you. They have to explain like the steps, how you have to like position your body. So like, you got to push into the needle, all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Just do it.
Still in so much pain.
Right.
Let's just do. Can we just do it, please?
Right. Because the meter's like, I'm telling you, the monitor's still.
Yes. Like, give me drugs.
Okay. So we put her in position. She's with me. I'm holding her hands. She's bearing down. And this man says, "So, what kind of burger are you having?" And she looks at me like, if you don't get this man.
Literally, y'all, I'm like this. I'm on Cedric. I have the pillow. I'm on Cedric like this. And he's like, "What kind of burger are you having?" I look at him like,
"Oh, like, we're having a girl." And he's
First of all, we didn't know. What are you talking about?
And when he said it, I'm like, "Excuse me?" And he's like, "Yeah, girl or boy?" So I'm like, "We're having a girl."
Y'all, I'm bent over. First of all, like, aside from the contractions,
like,
this is not a comfortable position.
Nobody cares. Yes,
this is not a comfortable position.
She's 9 months, bent over, water broke, and she's like...
And I'm having contractions. Dude.
And you don't want to be rude, but it's like, come on, man. What are we doing? Do your job, get out. So...
He goes on to talk about his kids, how they're one's a Virgo, one's a Pisces. I'm like,
and a Scorpio, and I'm like,
I'm literally looking up at Cedric like, if he doesn't hurt him, like I'm crying. It's just, I was in so much pain.
yeah.
I was in so much pain, and the dude, he was not rude, but it's like, come on, like you have to know.
Read the room.
Like, I'm so
read the
in so much
room.
pain.
Read the room.
So we finally get it. He tapes up my back, and immediately I'm in La La Land, like in a land flowing with milk and honey. That's what it was given.
Listen,
My parents come back in,
right.
And
she's
a
a whole new person.
At that point, I was vlogging. I had been vlogging the whole time, and at that point, I was pretty much dead to the world. Like, I couldn't feel anything. I was itching a lot.
Oh yeah, the itching.
I was itching, but it's like itching, contractions. So I was itching, but I was good, and I fell out to sleep because obviously I had just endured a lot of pain, so I was really tired. So after the epidural, we all
I go and get the bench out of the suite area because there's like a sitting area. We didn't talk about that, but yeah, like there's a hospital suite for the maternity nurse, and then outside there's a waiting area specifically for the maternity. So if anybody wants to wait outside, they can. We didn't have nobody waiting outside, but there's this long bench and a whole bunch of other chairs people sit on. I bring in the bench because T. Millie was going to sleep in that whack chair. I'm like, you're not sleeping in no chair while I'm on this thing laid out. No. So I go get the bench. She lays on the bench. I'm on the couch. She's in the bed. We knock out. And that is Saturday. That's Saturday. All right, we're back after a quick diaper and outfit change. We left off talking about Sunday morning.
Well, we were about to start talking about Sunday.
Yes.
Because Sunday morning is when things took a left turn. So I wake up to our nurse at the time, like 3 other nurses and the midwife that was on duty at the time in our suites, all crowded around our monitors. And I'm kind of just looking like, what's going on? And the midwife then, comes over and is explaining what's going on. And basically with the contractions, after each contraction I was having, Charlotte's heart rate was going down. It would go back up, but it would go down after each contraction. And she just explained, like, we can't allow this to continue happening. So we're basically going to have to take you off of the Pitocin and start over again in about an hour. And hopefully her heart rate will do better with the contractions. So yeah, they then put a oxygen mask on me because apparently like my breathing was out of whack as well. So it was pretty scary. And then at the time, that's when he woke up, which was pretty crazy for you, I can imagine, to wake up to. Because, like, it was a bunch of nurses, the doctor, I had oxygen mask on.
So I wake up, there's nurses around everywhere. They put the oxygen mask on her. They're all, and so I'm like, and she's looking at me like, wake up and talk to them because I'm not really in a position to advocate for myself because I have a mask on my face. So I'm like, what's going on? So they explain the whole thing and how we're essentially going to have to restart the process. Because at that point, the contractions were like every minute or two.
Yeah.
So those kind of decelerations in heart rate that close together in frequency was like a big concern. So like, okay, we'll start over. So they, did that. But like when they left the room after they told us what we were going to do, like I immediately went to praying. Like,
yeah, because towards the end of that conversation, well, I had been asking a lot of questions because they eventually took the mask off, and I was asking the midwife, okay, so like what's next? Are we talking a C-section? Because this isn't working. Obviously our plan was to have a vaginal birth, So it was really discouraging to even have to start the conversation about a C-section. But that's what it was looking like. If when we went back on the Pitocin, if her heart rate was going to continue to do the same thing. So she basically was just like, we don't want to start having that conversation right now, but if things continue going the way that they go, then that's what we'll have to do. We'll have to go to the operating room. And at this point, we know this was your plan, but we got to get her out and we got to have both of you safe and healthy. So let's just hope for the best, start over, see where we are in the morning, and go from there. So like he said, they left. I go into hysterics, if you will. I was very upset. Nobody wants to get cut open, obviously. I mean, I don't know anyone that wants to have a C-section. And I really wanted to push her out. I really wanted, to do that. So it was really discouraging, and I was afraid. I was scared. So obviously my husband was extremely encouraging and just even killed like he was the whole entire time, which I really needed him to be. I was up and down in my emotions, which, I mean, that's to be expected, but he was very reassuring and just constant the whole time. And shortly after that, we went back to sleep. They started the Pitocin over in about an hour. At 1, we had been at I think 10 or 12. But they started it over at 1 and we went back to sleep. So that was early Sunday morning.
Okay, so Sunday morning, 8 o'clock. We're back up, gotten somewhat of a good night's rest, I suppose. And we're kind of in a weird space because the nurses have switched now. Remember, it's past 7 a.m. We have not spoken to the midwife that we spoke to in the middle of the night, which was a good sign because she said she would only come back if things had gone left again. Mm-hmm. So we were off and running, making progress. We were up to level 3 on the Pitocin at that point. Slowly but surely, we're playing the waiting game yet again.
Yeah, but the only thing was my contractions, because we had to start over with the Pitocin. My contractions were few and far in between.
Right.
They were 7 minutes apart, and we needed them to be 3 to 2 minutes apart, so that I could dilate more. Mm-hmm. So it was still we're playing the waiting game.
Yep.
So that's where we were.
And you couldn't eat either, which was a whole nother thing. So it was
yeah, I didn't eat until
after
the
you
end
had
of the day.
Yeah.
When we had the baby.
So it was a lot. It was why I keep saying I couldn't be more proud of you and just how much of a G you were, because of there was so much, I don't want to say adversity, but there were so many negative things or just things that could have put you in a mindset of screw it, I give up, let's just get this over with, cut her out, I don't care.
Well, when they came and told us about the contractions or just where we were, mm-hmm. and talking about the contractions and how they needed to speed up, and we continued the possible conversation of a C-section, it was I don't want to say I gave up, but I was at this point, I just want her to be here. I want mm-hmm. her to be safe. Mm-hmm. And I was tired. Yeah. I was tired. It was a long evening, Saturday evening, and then, the whole spiel of what happened with being bum rushed by the nurses and the oxygen mask and being upset about all of that. I was just if this is what we have to do, I surrender. Obviously was still very upset about it, but I was beginning to accept the possibility of having mm-hmm. to be cut open. Yeah, and the new nurse kind of came in with that energy. If not new nurse, the new midwife. Yeah, she kind of came in look, it is what it is. Yeah.
If it is
like
not,
the heart rate is doing better.
Right, but it's not likely.
We're not out of the woods.
Right, and then we were on the clock because her water had already broken, so there was a risk of infection. There was a lot of risks. Mm-hmm. So the stars really had to align for things to work out for us to do what we originally planned. But
still 4 centimeters dilated. We still had more than halfway to go.
Yeah. But the cool thing about who we are and whose we are.
Yeah.
Cause like for real, and I can't stress enough. Like when I said I went to praying at 3:30 in the morning, like she had gone to sleep. Her mom woke up and was kind of worried about what was what, because she slept through the whole nurse thing, and she kind of was like, "What's going on?" Because she woke up to go to the bathroom and she saw Kayla with mask on and the whole mask. It was a lot, so she was all stressed out. She went to the bathroom. She went back to sleep. Everybody asleep. I'm up praying. I'm praying over the equipment. I'm praying over her body, her mind. I'm praying over the room. I'm praying over myself. Like, nobody really knows this part of the story. But, like, I feel like at that point, the, like, light bulb, if you will, I don't know. Like, they talk about what it means to be the priest of the home and, like, the head of the house and really, like, decreeing things and operating in that role or that bag. Like, at that point, I think all of that had kind of come to a head, and it was just like, you know what? Like, the devil's a liar. Like, we came in here with the intent to do this.
Yeah.
All this other stuff, the high blood pressure, all this stuff is trying to go left. Like, no. Like, I pray that your body line up and do what it's supposed to. Like, you're built for this. I'm built for this. We came in here with the intent to do this, and in the name of Jesus, we're going to do this.
Yeah, and to be honestly, at the time, I didn't have it in me to be, I didn't have it in me to go in like that into prayer and like warrior mode. Like I said, I was tired and I was just like emotionally done. So it was really a blessing to have you as like the even kill, the constant one, the one that was gonna like believe God. Because I was just like, okay,
yeah,
And
there were different like specks of hope throughout that, because right before they shift, the staff shift, the MD came in. This little white man named Dr. Madden. He was so funny. He came in. He looked at the monitor. He looked at Kayla.
Yeah.
He looked at me. He said, "We're gonna do this vaginally." And it was like, period. And then he just left. He just walked out. It was like, well, thanks, okay. Doc.
Right, I was like,
and we never saw him again until after the baby was born. And he came back in like.
Actually, I think it was before, because they were coming in and they did the cervix check. Where
Right. We were getting ready to deliver. Yeah. And he came back like, see, I told you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get there. So we were, like we said, we were just waiting. We had church online. Mm-hmm. My parents stepped out to get some food. Mm-hmm. And you came here to check on Ginger, our dog. And I was actually watching the stream of our church service on YouTube. And I remember specifically, like, the title of the message was something like still, like, press on in your praise, fight through your praise, like, get your praise back in the middle of your circumstances. And that really, like, helped me to do just that, like, continue to just praise God. Like, he was still good no matter what the outcome was. Like, if we were gonna have a C-section, that's what it was gonna be, and God was still gonna be good. It didn't mean that I was gonna be less of a mother or anything like that. So I just really began to like just have peace. I remember like being in the bed and just like having a moment and just being in worship as I was listening to the stream. So that was awesome. And by the time that finished and everyone was back, it was like, I don't know,
It was
maybe
like
3 o'clock, yeah.
3 or 4-ish. Then we were kind of chilling.
Yeah.
And she came back.
The
midwife came back again. She checked her, and we were
Yeah.
at 7.
And mind you,
we were at 7 centimeters.
She was asking if she could check, and I was like, sure. Like, I got the epidural now. I ain't gonna feel it. Because before, like I said, those cervix checks were the devil.
Invasion of privacy.
Like, literally.
But
yeah, so she checks.
We're at 7.
Yeah, she's like,
and she was
news, we're at
surprised.
7.
She was surprised. Like, you could tell, like, the way she first came in, it was kind of despondent and like, here it is, whatever, worst case scenario. But as things went on and things progressed as quickly as they did, she, like, came more optimistic, more upbeat, more positive. And then by...
It was all like,
good
news. Yeah. You're 7 centimeters. And we're like, oh, great. And
come back and check
her heart rate was continuing. Her heart rate was doing better.
They kicked up the Pitocin up to 10.
Contractions were speeding up. So we were
back where we were. So like by...
And I was like, okay. Like we're more than halfway there. I'm feeling better about the situation. We had been praying, of course. Cedric was still praying. My dad was there. Who was my natural and spiritual father. So everybody was just praying. His family was praying. Yeah. His mom, his brothers, and everything like that. So
folks in church
we were on our way. So, geez, like maybe an hour later.
It was like 5:30.
She came back to check. She again was like, "Well, let's see where we are, folks. Like, we've been doing good all this time. We've been watching heart rate from outside.
We were in the home stretch.
She's doing good.
Right.
Let's check again." So she shoves her hand in my vagina again.
But mind you, like, we're on a timetable. At 24 hours, no matter where we were, we would have to have stopped because her water was broke. So we're at 22 hours. We're like at the 22nd hour.
Yeah, man. God is so good.
And she came in, she did the check, and then she was like, "Do
you want the good news or the gooder news?" And I'm like, I want the good news first. What? I want the good but the less good news first. So she's like in there and she's like, the good news is you're 10 centimeters, and the gooder news is her head is like right there. Like she's in position.
Like we're ready to push.
So we're all just like,
what? Let's go.
We're all really, really excited.
So she's
he calls his mom to come on. Like, we're doing this. She's like, so we're going to give you about an hour to kind of like rest up, get your energy.
Yeah, they went and got all their equipment and all their gear because she came back with the full gown and the hat.
So that's what we did. We rested up for a minute. I put on a little makeup because I'm like, I'm not gonna be my daughter looking crazy. So I put on a little makeup. We had worship music going.
Yes, we had the playlist on deck.
We prayed. And it was really like such a moment because it was kind of like we had been through all of this, and to now be at this point, I was really just so happy and obviously hormonal. We prayed. Cedric was on my left, my dad was on my right, and my mom was in front of the bed, and we were all holding hands in prayer, and it was just great. And I was just so thankful to God. Like, God did that. All of the nurses, all of the midwives, everybody was like, wow, like, you did it.
Yeah. Even the nurses and midwives who had come and gone, who had been with us over the course of the weekend.
Right.
They would pop in their head and, hey, we just wanted to come and see how you did it. We're so glad you were able to do everything like you wanted. And have her vaginally.
Yeah.
So it was definitely like.
Yeah. And then like birth, labor. Let's talk about labor. So we start like let's do it. They're putting me in the stirrups. Cedric has my right foot, mom has my left foot. They're explaining to me, the lift up, curl, push.
Well, it was more like a bear down, not a push.
Yeah. Well, at first, when we first started, I was like pushing, like through my throat, if you will. And we had gotten somewhere. My whole thing was like, oh my gosh, are we like, every time we would push, she would kind of like go back in a little bit. Yeah, retract. But they ended up bringing us a mirror. At first I was like, I don't think I want a mirror, but I think it helped so I could see like you're doing it, like you're making progress.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep pushing.
But it was legit like, oh crap, I see hair.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of hair.
She had a lot of hair.
And it was like, oh, bro, you just get pushed a little more.
Yeah. So we were pushing and like
she would push. I was
like sets of 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the hardest thing. But I felt in the moment like I felt so empowered. And we were doing it and everyone was really supportive. My mom was bringing me water in between each set. I was kind of dozing off in between each set, to be honest. I was so tired.
She was
because it's like it takes everything. Strength. Yeah, and that's what's funny because at first I was like, I don't think I want any music. But then like halfway through I was like, let me get that You Are My Strength. We played that, and that was my theme song for labor. Yeah, so we pushed, and I think she came. How long did we labor?
She was the labor was all weekend.
Well,
but the pushing,
yeah,
she pushed her out in like 15, 20 minutes. Like no joke, it was not long at all.
Yeah.
And it was
once she
impressive.
started coming, like once she was not retracting anymore, like we could see like her head coming. I was like, okay, like
yeah, because the midwife was doing like she was helping.
Like, she was like pushing me back.
Right. So like the head would come out and she would kind of push the labia around her head so she wouldn't retract as much.
Yeah. And she asked me, she's like, is that okay? I'm like, let's do it.
And then like at that point, like her head was crowning. And
the crowning, y'all.
Yeah.
The crowning.
Yeah.
Like at first I was pushing like through my throat, so I was like not screaming, but I was doing a lot of grunting. And so they were like, okay, like try to bear it down with your pushing. And that really made a difference in our progress. But when she started crowning and like the whole of her head was coming out, I was like, yeah, because that was crazy.
And then she just popped right out.
Right after she just
like the neck came out. Like once the head was out, well, her left, she had to do one more push because her head was all the way out, but her head was just out, and that was something. And then it was cool. Midwife was real cool because she let me use my phone, so I literally have all this like on camera in my like library of photos and videos and timestamps and all.
Yeah.
And
so
like she was like, Dad, get your camera. Because she's about to come. We're going to push one more time, and she'll be here. And she pushed the shoulder out, and the shoulder popped out. And
her shoulder popped out, and she was here. And they put her on my chest. And
they did the syringe.
Yep. And then things go left again.
Yeah, but this was a slight left. Like, and I think because we were so happy that she was here. Well, I'll speak for myself. I was so happy she was like out. I feel like the leftness was a slight left because at that point, like she was here, I was glad. And while like I know we had wanted to have this like special moment in the room with her in the room, that was another reason why we picked Emory Decatur, because they don't have a nursery where they take babies away. Like, they do everything in the room. But they had to take her to NICU because they had noticed that she had inhaled some meconium, or like the liquid black poop that they poop. Which happens when the bag's been broken. They've just kind of been out for a minute. Because once they're out, like, they could just waste or whatever. And then, of course, they're trying to get her to breathe, so there's that, right? So that can make their breathing more laborsome, and it can limit their oxygen. So they were like, we're going to take her down to the NICU as a precaution. I was like, I'm going with them. And they were laughing at me because they put her in a little thing, and I was pushing the cart myself. And the nurse was like, oh, you got it, go ahead. I'll just follow you. And I pushed her all the way to the ward, pushed her in position, they measured her, they weighed her, and I again went to praying. And I wasn't really worried at that point, but like, still.
For me, it went left. It was another emotional plummet, because as soon as she gets here, I mean, even before, you feel like an immense amount of just motherly instinct, but as soon as she got here, all I wanted to do was be with my baby. She maybe spent 2 minutes on my chest before they took her. Also, I had torn, so I was getting stitched up. So like, my legs are still open, my baby's over, they're working with her, my legs are open, they're stitching me up, and I'm just boo-hooing the whole time because they're saying that they're gonna have to take her away. And as a mother, it's like, all you want to do, I just had her. Like, I didn't even really get a chance to look at my baby's face. So it really sucked. And I was upset, like so upset. I was trying to calm down. It was obviously still a very happy moment because she was here. But they basically were like, she's gonna go to NICU. She'll be there for at least 48 hours. So in the moment, I'm just thinking, I'm not gonna have the moments with my baby here, and and mommy and baby. I'm not gonna have moments like with my new family. So it just really sucked. And like 15 minutes after I gave birth, she was being taken away. And obviously I had some solace because my husband was going with her, so he could like watch her and watch everything that they were doing, because we're very much those type of parents. Like, what are you doing? What are you giving her?
Right.
All that stuff. Yeah, explain everything that you're doing. But it really sucked because all I wanted to do was be with her.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They had to take me off the epidural. I had to go to the bathroom, and she was not there. So it really sucked. Yeah. But he took her. I've gotten stitched up and everything. The new nurse, the mommy and baby nurse who was gonna like transport me to upstairs to that unit or ward, came and they took me off epidural. I got up, kind of like took a minute to get my footing. I go to the bathroom. The nurse was not the best. She was kind of just like la-di-da-di-da, like whatever. Mom was pretty mad about that because my mom was like, you're a fall risk. She didn't follow me to the bathroom or anything, but I got up and I was walking. It was fine. I was actually really a trooper, if we're being honest.
I
like everything, like not just the physical like trauma and everything, like emotionally, I was so done. Like, we had been up and down with everything before we finally got to the push. And they took my baby. Like, that's a big deal. Like, any moms out there, like, you don't want to see your baby go off to the NICU. Obviously, you can't stay in the NICU. Like, they let you go, and you can stay as long as you can. But it's like, I'm a new mom. I have to get rest, right. But I also want to be my baby. It just was not. You don't know the nurses. you don't, and then the nurses, like the shifts are changing, so it's new nurses coming in, being with your baby in the NICU. It just was a lot.
Yeah.
But we got moved to
Mom and baby.
mother and baby.
Mm-hmm.
I had some sushi,
Mm-hmm.
so that was pretty cool because I hadn't had sushi in almost a year, and I love sushi. He called and let us know that we could come down and see her.
And this woman, fresh out of the labor and delivery, walked.
Oh,
She walked across the entire hospital,
yeah.
down 2 floors, all the way to the NICU. Now, I'm like, no. Because normally, I'm not saying you wasn't gonna come, but normally they put you in a wheelchair.
Well, they did ask.
She was like, "No, I'm gonna walk."
Yeah.
So when I come to look, I'm expecting them to wheel her in, and she comes in practically stomping, like, "Where's my child?" And I'm like,
yeah.
"Yo, what?"
Because all I wanted
like,
to do was
okay?
be with her. It was like, I can
So-
walk. I don't need to be wheeled anywhere. I can walk. So I
Freshly
walked.
stitched, fresh.
Yeah.
Like, bro. And so
Land legs.
I'm like looking at her, and she's looking at me, and she's like, "How's the baby?" But what was cool about that was, and this is just how good God is, like, she hadn't even been in the NICU 20 minutes.
Yeah.
She was off the oxygen.
Well, what happened was I was holding her, and Charlotte has been so active since the very beginning. Like, I was holding her. I nursed her. That was another thing I was so upset about. Like, literally depressed. I was like, I'm not gonna be able to nurse my baby because she's not here. Anyway, so I get there. We go to nursing, and Charlotte like does one of these and pulls the like what do they call it? CPAP, the oxygen.
The oxygen
like,
nasal clip.
She pulls it out.
Like puts her hand
Yeah.
on it, like, get this thing out of my face. They tried to do it again. She was like, I said what I said.
Well, then the doctor came over, and I'm like, she keeps pulling it out. Like, can you help us put it back in? Because I'm like thinking, well, she can't breathe. Like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, okay, well, she's looking at her monitor. She's like, well, looks like she's doing fine. So we'll just try to see how she does without it. So I'm like,
they never put her back on
She
the oxygen.
never went back on the oxygen.
They did, and at that point it was just a formality because they said by policy they have to keep her for 2 days.
Right.
But the whole
she
2 days,
continued to do better.
She gained weight down there.
Yeah, which
never happens.
Most babies in the NICU are preemies.
Yeah,
they have a lot of different issues going on. She just continued to do better.
She was eating good, sleeping good.
There was talk of maybe not being able to go home with her because a lot of times that does happen with babies in the NICU where they're like, okay, mom's got to get discharged. So you may have to leave without her. But in the end, we left with our baby. And I was so, so happy. And, we gave birth on Sunday around like 6:33, 6:35. Mm-hmm. We left Tuesday, like afternoon, evening. And from that time to the time that we left, it was frustrating. And it was a lot to like fight through. You have people coming in your room, a lactation specialist, they have a doula that comes in. They're coming in to check your blood pressure, all this stuff. You're not able to be with your baby 24/7 because they're like, you need to get rest. And all I'm like, I just want to be with my kid. It was a lot, but in the end, like, God is the greatest, and we're extremely grateful. She has continued to excel in her health and in her growth. We took her to the doctor 2 days after we brought her home, and she had already grown a whole inch.
Gained 2 ounces.
And she continues to do well. So we're just really grateful to God. And I've never been happier in my life. More like as the days go by, as the weeks go by, I'm more and more in love with her. The bond is there. She's 4 weeks now. 4 weeks today, actually.
Yep, she'll be a month old in 3 days.
Yes. So, yeah, that's our birth story. It was crazy.
God is good.
God is good, and He continues to prove Himself to be faithful. Like, we went in wanting it to go a certain way. You know, it didn't go exactly the way that we wanted it to go, but the result was what we prayed for and was our heart's desire, and He gave us that. And I think that's kind of like a metaphor for just the journey with God and the journey in your relationship with God and towards the promises of God. Like, He gave you a promise, but He didn't promise you it was going to go the way that you wanted it to go. He didn't promise you that, you know, the journey towards that promise was going to be the way you wanted it to be. He didn't say it was going to take a couple hours. We were in the hospital all weekend. We had a jillion different nurses, a jillion different midwives, but it ended the way that we wanted it to. So God is faithful.
Amen.
Thank you guys for joining us.
It's been really real.
Hope that you enjoyed our birth story and all of its ups and downs, literally. Contractions going up and down, heart rate's going up and down. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, all of those good things. I don't know who won the yawn count, but when we play the video back,
I think she did. I was tired. I'm not gonna lie. But hey,
yeah,
we out here.
life of a newborn. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Kayla and Bloom, folks. See you next time.
She's asleep.